Module 1, Introduction to Advocacy, Lobbying, and Interest Groups. 1. Module Overview. Module 1 provides a comprehensive foundation for understanding the dynamics, purposes, and structures of advocacy, lobbying, and interest groups. It lays the groundwork for the entire course by combining historical context, theoretical perspectives, functional roles, and practical applications. You gain insight into how organized entities influence policymaking, mobilize public opinion, and interact with governmental institutions. This module explores why advocacy and lobbying exist, how interest groups operate, and the strategic considerations that drive successful campaigns. It also introduces you to ethical and legal frameworks that govern influence activities, ensuring a balanced understanding of power, persuasion, and accountability. 2. Historical context and evolution. Understanding modern advocacy and lobbying requires examining its historical trajectory. Ancient and medieval roots. Early forms of lobbying emerged in ancient civilizations, including citizen assemblies in Greece and advisory councils in Rome, where elites sought to influence rulers. Early modern developments, trade guilds, professional associations, and early civil society organizations in Europe began organizing systematically to influence legislation and economic policy. 19th and 20th centuries, industrialization, urbanization, and the rise of democratic institutions gave birth to modern interest groups, including labor unions, political parties, and reform movements. Contemporary landscape. Today, interest groups encompass NGOs, think tanks, corporate lobbyists, advocacy coalitions, and digital mobilization platforms. Globalization and technology have amplified their reach, influence, and strategic sophistication. 3. Defining key concepts. This module defines and differentiates essential terms. Advocacy, the act of actively supporting or arguing in favor of a cause, policy, or group of people. Advocacy can be public-facing, grassroots-driven, or professionalized, aiming to influence policy outcomes, societal norms, or public opinion. Lobbying, the direct engagement with policymakers and government officials to influence legislation, regulation, or decision-making. It is typically formal, systematic, and regulated by legal frameworks. Interest groups, organized entities, formal or informal, that seek to promote specific policy objectives or societal outcomes. Interest groups can be economic, ideological, professional, social, or advocacy focused. 3.1. Distinguishing advocacy from lobbying. Advocacy focuses on raising awareness, mobilizing citizens, and shaping public opinion. Lobbying targets policymakers directly, employing research, persuasion, and negotiation to achieve policy outcomes. Overlap. Many organizations combine both strategies for maximum influence. 4. Types and classifications of interest groups. Interest groups vary in purpose, structure, and operational methodology. Module 1 introduces learners to key typologies: economic and professional groups, business associations, trade unions, professional guilds, social and cultural groups, minority organizations, community groups, cultural associations, issue-based advocacy groups, environmental NGOs, human rights organizations, health advocacy campaigns, ideological groups, policy think tanks, political action committees, and faith-based advocacy networks, governmental interest entities, advisory councils, quasi-governmental organizations that influence public administration. Understanding typologies helps learners analyze strategic approaches, communication styles, and methods of mobilization appropriate for different groups. 5. Functional roles of advocacy and interest groups. Interest groups perform multiple roles within society and governance systems. Representation, acting as the voice of constituents, communities, or stakeholders. Policy expertise, providing data, research, and informed perspectives to legislators and bureaucrats. Mobilization, engaging citizens and stakeholders to support policy goals or societal change. Agenda setting, prioritizing issues for policymakers, media, and public attention. Monitoring and accountability, holding government institutions and officials accountable for decisions and policies. 6. Ethical and legal frameworks. Module 1 introduces you to the normative foundations and legal parameters that govern advocacy and lobbying. Ethics, transparency, integrity, responsible influence, conflict of interest avoidance, legal compliance, local, national, and international lobbying laws, mandatory reporting, limitations on gifts or financial influence, accountability, ensuring advocacy initiatives respect democratic principles, human rights, and social equity. 7. Emerging trends, digital advocacy, social media campaigns, online petitions, and AI-powered engagement tools, coalition building, multi-group alliances to increase influence and legitimacy. Global networking, transnational advocacy networks influencing international policy. Evidence-based advocacy, using data analytics, polling, and impact evaluation to optimize campaigns. 8. Learning outcomes for Module 1. By the end of Module 1, you will be able to define advocacy, lobbying, and interest groups with nuanced clarity, explain the historical evolution and contemporary relevance of interest groups, differentiate between types of interest groups and their operational strategies, identify the functional roles of advocacy and lobbying in policy making and democratic engagement. Understand basic ethical and legal frameworks governing advocacy and lobbying. Recognize emerging trends and technologies that shape modern advocacy practice.